Merely Bow. How about this for a luminary right out of the gate? Dawand Jones in. Good to see you, buddy.
Yes, sir. Pleasure to be here.
Good to get to work.
Yes, sir.
See everybody, all the familiar faces, all my guys. Miles there, Chief's there. Everybody's in the mix.
Yes, sir. It's good to have everybody back in the building, all the vets.
You're never not in the building. I see you every day coming in and out of the facility. When is there a tone difference from the top, from Kevin, from everybody? Because it's one thing that we talk to the guys when they come in here is there seems to be kind of that this feels a little different than last year.
You know, Coach Stefanski talks about, just being tough and competitive. And I think it just carried over to everybody this year, whether you on vacation working out, but everybody's going to be tough about it. They're going to do their business and, make sure they come back in best shape. And if you're here, you're being tough and competitive versus your teammate.
It's an interesting thing, mandatory minicamp, because you guys have been working for a long time with OTAs, and then you get to this, you got this, it's 3 practices, 2 big ones, and then a shorter practice by the time we get to Thursday. For you guys, it puts a ribbon on what's been happening in the off-season program. For the fans and for a lot of the media, so much is attention on mandatory minicamp. How do you balance that as a player, what is just more practices versus what's going to be amplified by the noise outside?
It's just laying the foundation, in my opinion. That's the main thing Coach Stefanski's talked about, just starting the foundation, which it is. It's 3 days, we lay the foundation, we come back, and, we build on top of that.
When you think about everything that we do with success under Coach Stefanski that we've had, it's all started in the trenches, has been a big part of it. It's been the offensive line, the defensive line, big investment on the defensive line. I'll get to that with you in just a second. But in terms of your returning health on the offensive line, Jack getting back in the mix, the interior speaks for itself, obviously. But you got young guys who got to come along. What have you seen through the last month or so in the offensive line room as you've looked around? And is it progressing in a way that you think it should be?
Yes, a lot of guys were banged up last year, whether it was Joe, me, myself, Wyatt, Jack, and even Poe. That sucks when your whole 5 is banged up and, we're healthy this year and, we're just ready to work, honestly.
How do you feel?
I'm sore some days, I came off a broken leg. I'm not going to sit here and fake it, so it definitely gets sore some days, but, it's about just being tough and competitive and just fighting through it, just for your brother.
As you've been through this offseason, and like I said, I see you almost every day here as you're going through your offseason program and your rehabilitation and all of it. What has this time been like for you coming off of an injury and having to deal with that and to try to get back to feeling normal?
The main thing is just fighting through pressure or pain that, you're kind of unused to. Most of the time it's just really scar tissue, and you got to really just break that up. And I feel like I did a decent job last year on my right knee, breaking up the scar tissue. But I feel like it started to break down a little bit towards the end of the year. But, I want to do that now with my leg, just how severe it is. And, I just really want to get back to my old self.
Your old self's pretty dang good, buddy. When you're at your old self. In terms of this, a return, and you guys have been installing it, it's been there, but a return to kind of what Coach Stefanski's all about on the offensive line with the run game and then building off of it with the play action pass, much more under center, kind of a hybrid of what we've seen over the last few years. You see the 2 drafted running backs, Jerome Ford back as well. There feels like there's going to be an emphasis on we're going to punch you in the mouth and run it down your throat a little bit. Obviously, you have to have the big plays off of it. What have you seen as a difference up front, and what can the fans expect by the time we get to the fall offensively?
I don't know how much I could say, but, Coach Stefanski we've talked and, just definitely, obviously, you said just making an emphasis of running the ball, everybody runs the ball. It doesn't matter if you're going to stop her. It doesn't matter if you're going to stop her or not. And, that's my main point. And I think that's our main point this year, make sure they stop us and make sure they stop us running the ball wherever we want to.
Jerome, obviously we had a pretty big rooting interest in Quinshon Judkins and what he did at Ohio State last year. Dylan Sampson, pretty good too. What do you make of the young backs?
I think they're all good. I didn't get to watch much of Dylan, I want to say, in college, but, I watch Judd all the time just because he's at Ohio State. Jerome, I played with him for 2 years, and he's exceptional. Pierre as well, I think all the guys in the running back room are good, It's just about who's the right fit, and, who plays the role the best for us.
Yeah, it's interesting. You watch that Buckeye team, and I think there's a lesson that a lot of football teams could take from that with Travion and Q, in that they kind of rode the hot hand, and then neither guy really wore out. They both stayed healthy all year, and it was quite honestly, you watch the playoff, a lot of attention is given to Will and the big plays with Jeremiah Smith, but a lot of it was built off of what they did on the ground.
Correct. I watched the playoffs, like you said, all offseason, and yeah, it was a 1-2 punch, and just like how it was with Trey and Mayan, I think it was the same way with Judkins, and I think it's really going to compliment us. Just as he came off, he had to split reps. He's probably going to do the same thing again, but you get that spurt of him getting us a 10-yard, 5-yard gain, and then you got Jerome or whoever behind us to get us the next yards.
Obviously, most of the attention from the outside is on the quarterbacks. We have 4 of them here, 2 of them drafted, really accomplished college players. Joe's a Super Bowl champion, and then Kenny was a first-round pick and has 25 starts. From your perspective, is there any challenge at all to just hearing different voices in the room, or does it matter at all?
Sometimes when you get to the line, I think that's the main part. But I think that's the part we talked about in our meetings, is being versatile, being able to hear different cadences from different people. I think that's my main point, is just being able to adjust to whoever, just like when we go down, the quarterback got to adjust to a different tackle. I just want to be able to adjust to a different quarterback. Yeah,
that's going to be fascinating to see how all of that plays out. And I think all the pieces on this stuff kind of matters a lot. Talking about Dawand Jones, of course, Big Thanos here in studio with us. What are you doing? You and I were talking off air. You got the little baseball bug here a little bit, buddy.
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff in my off season. I go to baseball games. I go to IndyCar, NASCAR.
Yeah,
and I love just
NASCAR. Now Indy 500, I got it. I mean, that I get. That's part of.
Yeah, I'm from Indianapolis,
right.
So you know what I mean. But also just liking cars, and I have a fast car. I have a Dodge Durango Hellcat, and so I go to the NASCAR races, and they tell me to rev my engine and all that, and but it's a good time when I go there, and it's just a good hospitality, and I just like seeing the drivers go fast and go real left.
You know what, man, too, and I think there's this feeling that you guys, that you're almost machines and you just do the football, but the reality, you have to have some release,
personality.
Yeah, man, and you got to be able to, I think you have to find ways. It's kind of cool being a pro athlete, man. Like, there's cool stuff that comes with it, and some of this stuff is nice.
Yeah, like I went up to Steb North for the race this past weekend.
Yeah,
and, it was a good race, and I'm talking to some guys, and they got the the big blue hats on.
Yeah.
And I'm, I didn't even really want to shake his hand, just because.
We're not having that.
Yeah, but I just kept respectful. He was like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, he was like, let me get a picture with you.
Yeah.
And I just went ahead and took the picture. I just love I can go out and just be myself. And whether or not if they don't like you from where you're from,
yeah.
but, they just still respect you and what you do.
You saw Denny drop the OH after he won.
Yes, sir. I was so
I thought you'd like that.
I was so turned up. I said, thank God somebody did it.
Somebody did that. Yeah. It helps when you win.
Yes.
When you win, you can do it. How close are you watching these finals?
Pretty close.
Did you grow up Pacers fan or?
Yeah, I was Big Miles and the Palace guy. That's my era. My favorite player growing up was Jermaine O'Neal. Or in Indy, I should say. That was like, that guy. And my mom loved Reggie Miller, and so she just talked about that and the Market Square Arena days, and people they talk about that all the time. And I wish I was there to be able to experience that. Now.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can be able to go on Friday and go to the game. But if not, I'm not tripping. I'm rooting for the Pacers no matter what.
I think it's the best pure basketball arena in the NBA. It's built straight up. Every seat's awesome.
What they say, every other state is just a sport, but Indiana is basketball.
You were a pretty dang good high school basketball player. What was the coolest basketball arena you played in high school?
Oh, that's so tough. Obviously, I think I had to go with Southport. That's a no-brainer, but.
Did you get
Newcastle?
Newcastle?
I was just going to say that. Newcastle.
Did you play there?
Yes, I played Newcastle in the Indiana All-Star game. That was probably I was one of the best feelings ever. And I'm a big court guy, and they got parquet court,
they do,
which is like Celtics and the Magic, and I love that.
Did you ever go to the Hoosiers gym?
I played there. Well,
did you play there?
I got invited to the game. So there's Terhune versus Hickory, which is the movie that was the teams together, and I was on Terhune and got to play in the game, and it was an amazing experience. Little gym, but
dude, you walk in there, it's like walking on a movie set. Though.
Yeah,
it's
it really
time
is.
Stood still.
Yes, it's really small in there, but it's always a good vibe. It was real tight, but I was going against my buddies from growing up, so it made it better.
Did you ever play at Hinkle?
No, that's one place that, I wish that IHSA would, bring back playing at like regionals and semi-states at colleges. I feel like it would be a real, I wouldn't say exposure because you're not supposed to, be watching them, but I think it would be real good for high school players playing on a college court.
Dude, and it's a great shooting gym.
Yes.
Plus, you got Thad there and a lot of Buckeyes there.
Yes.
So,
Yes, Greg, hopefully Greg can make something happen. Talk to IHSA.
It's something to go well. Hey, man, it is great to see you. It's good to be back at mandatory minicamp for everybody involved, and continue to see you here as you go through your rehab. And once this is done, enjoy your summer, and we'll get back to work in the fall.
Thank you, Bo. Thank you for having me.
All right, good seeing you, buddy. Dawand Jones joining us here in studio.